Is it working? Okay, hi guys! Welcome back. Another batch of Mean Streets of Gadgetzan cards have been released. Another week has passed, so we're gonna go right ahead and review them and not waste any more time with dilly-daddling, as some people might say. I'm gonna say sorry right from the beginning because I am still a little bit sick, so I might cough and sniffle as I make this episode. Hopefully, it won't be too bad. This week has seen the rise of the Jade Lotus faction, along with its very unique mechanic of summoning Jade Golems. And I'm going to explain how that works as I review the first card of this list, so I get the idea of the Jade Golems out of the way, so then I can focus afterwards on the cards, more in particular, so I don't have to like remake the discussion every time. And the first minion for the Jade faction, that is Druid, Rogue, and Shaman, is a Jade Spirit, a 4 mana 2/3 minion, Battlecry, summon a Jade Golem. Now, what is a Jade Golem? You might think this card has been, announced since last week, but nobody knew what it was. Apparently, the Jade Golem is a minion that is summoned by all these Jade faction cards and the Jade the specific cards, the classes that are in those, the cards in those classes, and it starts as a 1/1 the first time it's summoned. Not too interesting. Then the next time it's summoned, it's a 2/2. Then the next time it's summoned, it's a 3/3, and then a 4/4. And basically, it's just this kind of like incremental, sort of slow growing minion that gets stronger and stronger with each summon. +1/+1 to be more specifically. And this is, it's a completely new thing and a completely new mechanic that's very interesting and has a lot of potential, but it also has a few drawbacks, and this is where I'm going to make it, and I'm going to like compare it with basically the Cartoon decks, just to like give you a rough idea about how this works. So, in the past expansion, Cartoon came out, and you had like this giant monstrosity of a 10 drop with a strong battle cry that, got buffed by all the Cartoon buffing cards, Beckoner of Evil, Disciple of Cartoon, Cartoon Chosen, all these cards that were, for the most part, they were like pretty much average cards that would buff a specific card that is Cartoon. Now, the difference was between the Jade Golem and the Cartoon decks is that in the case of the Cartoon decks, you are buffing like one specific card, one specific minion that is Cartoon, and in order to gain advantage from it, you actually had to draw it and play it. And in case you were playing against like a very fast aggro deck and you didn't get it to turn 10, then you wouldn't get advantage from it. If you were unlucky enough to have the Cartoon buffing cards in, I mean the Cartoon himself in the last few cards of the deck, then again you can get advantage from its like extremely strong body and most importantly battle cry. And the second disadvantage with Cartoon is that it's one single card, it's one minion. If your opponent prepared his removal for it and survives it and then removes it, then it's all gone. You no longer have, you know, pretty much any way to get advantage from it unless you're playing like, that card that shuffles him back into your deck in case he dies. But even that can be played around with like Entomb or Hex or Polymorph or by milling Cartoons. So it's pretty much like it could be played around. There's also the Think Master Overspark. You can steal it with Sylvana. So there are ways to just play around this one single powerful card that your opponent is preparing up. In the case of the Jade Golem, though, the thing is that every time you play a Jade a card that summons a Jade Golem, it summons a completely brand new Jade Golem with the increased stats. So you cannot like stop this slow increase of this card, so it will keep getting bigger and bigger, and you're no longer dependent on drawing the Jade Golem, or you're no longer in a problem if the Jade Golem gets killed or anything like that. It will keep growing every time it's summoned, and it will be resummoned every time. That's the main idea of it. However, the main disadvantage of it is that the cards that summon the Jade Golems are way weaker than their a regular stat line for their mana cost. Like for the example, we have this card that we're talking about, the Jade Spirit. It's a 4 mana 2/3, and if it's the first Jade Golem that you summon, it's basically a 4 mana 2/3 that summons a 1/1. That's just a Razorfriend Hunter that costs 4 mana, and nobody in their goddamn right minds plays Razorfriend Hunter on constructed. Never mind one that costs 1 extra mana, you know. If it's the second Jade Golem you summon, then it's a 4 mana 2/3 that summons a 2/2, which almost equates to like a Chillwind Yeti, which is still not played in constructed. Only from the third Jade Golem it starts becoming, okay and even valuable, and that's going to be true with most of the cards, as you will see. They start becoming strong after the third and fourth, Jade Golem. So the main idea when making a Jade deck that you'll have to ask yourself is: are you willing to lose the early game in order to get a slow incremental advantage in the late game? And if you are willing to do that, is your class and your deck capable enough, and does it have strong enough comeback mechanics in order to recover from losing the early game? And by comeback mechanics, I mean board clears, strong and efficient board clears, and strong and efficient heals. And that is where the issue comes from, because the classes in the Jade faction are Rogue, Druid, and Shaman. The Rogue doesn't really have any strong board clears. All the board clears that they have are very weak and situational. You know, we're talking about Fan of Knives, Blade Flurry, which has seen almost no places the nerf, and I don't know, maybe Vanish. And it doesn't have any heals whatsoever. Druid is a little bit better on the heal category with Healing Touch, Feral Rage, Moonglade Portal, but even he doesn't have that good board clears. You know, there's only like Starfall and Swipe, which are rather weak and situational. And Shaman is a little bit better off. Shaman has some stronger board clears, some stronger early board clears. It has Maelstrom Portal, Lightning Storm, Elemental Destruction. You also have some decent heals with Healing Wave, and who knows, the legendary from Whispers of the Old Gods, the Halaziel Ascended, might even make a comeback in this kind of like Jade Golem oriented deck, you know. But yeah, that's the main issue with these Jade Golem decks, and that's how the mechanic mostly works. So I hope it gives you a rough idea about what it is and whether it is good enough. It will remain to be seen, but yeah, that's the main issue. You really need to have very strong comeback mechanics in order to make these Jade Golem team decks to work to their full potential, and Rogue and Druid kind of lack on that, and it's a little bit unfortunate. As for Arena, I don't think the Jade Golem will see much play in Arena, because in Arena you cannot really consistently get, draft that many Jade Golem buffing cards, and even if you do, you're also less likely to draft the specific heals and the board clears that you need to survive. So for the most part, they are pretty much going to ignore Jade Golem in Arena. I'm not sure if they're going to be fully implemented in Arena, just like Katoon and Katoon buffing cards weren't. They might be, but and if they are, unless you feel like extremely lucky on drafting Jade Golem cards and board clears and heals, I'd say you would stay away from them. And that's my main rant about the Jade Golem, and that has been the first card. So moving along right on ahead, we have the legendary for the Jade Lotus faction, and that is Aya Blackpaw. And that's this card is very cool looking. I just really like how this card looks. It's a 6 mana 5/3 battle cry and death rattle summon a Jade Golem. So as we see once again, I mean, we have a 5/3 which is worse stats than a 4-drop, but we are paying 6 mana for it in order to summon the battle cry and death rattle a Jade Golem. So if it's the first Jade Golem that you summon, it's a 5/3 that summons a 1/1 at 6 mana, and then a 2/2 when it dies. It's just okay. It's just slightly better than a Boulder Fist Ogre, which also once again nobody plays in constructed. From what I heard in theory, you're going to have like 2 Jade Golem summoned by the turn 6. You know how they are saying, some people made some statistics, so you're going to have a 6 mana 5/3 that summons a 3/3 on battle cry and a 4/4 when it dies. which is not terrible. This card is obviously better, and it serves right that it's a legendary because it both provides you with board on battle cry, and also it leaves over some board behind when it dies, from an eventual board clear or removal. So it's it's stronger in that regard, and obviously it's gonna be pretty good in the Jade Golem based decks, And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to play with this card. But it remains to be seen if the Jade Golems are going to be strong enough to actually make up for the constructed play. Now, moving right on ahead, we're starting to go to the class cards. First, we have Druid. Druid has a new common card that is another ramp card, the Jade Blossom, 3 mana, summon a Jade Golem, gain an empty mana crystal. So this card, seems okay. I mean, not Jade, Druid had, ramp for 2 mana, it had ramp for 4 mana and 5 mana, but it didn't really have ramp for 3 mana. And also, since Shade of Naxxramas was rotated out, it really didn't have much to do for 3 mana. So in this regard, this card might serve as a replacement in those in druid decks, to have a okay like free turn play or 3 mana play. Basically, you gain a mana crystal, summon a Jade Golem. It's not too terrible, but at the same time you have to be careful because if you put too many ramp cards, and that's the problem with druid because it already has some pretty strong, and it has kind of enough ramp cards already. So it's becoming problematic if you put too many ramp cards. Then you might just draw those instead of actually minions to play after you ramp up. So yeah, you have to like really maintain the balance between ramp and actual proper spells and minions. So in that case, I don't think Jade Blossom will see that much play, even in Jade Golem decks. It's gonna be, if it will, it's gonna be like very kind of like at the limit there. I might be wrong, but I really feel it's like just at the borderline of being a good constructed card. Then moving along ahead, we have Jade Behemoth, so another taunt for Druid as he didn't have enough taunts. A 6 mana free 6 taunt that summons the Jade Golem. So over here we kind of see like the contrast between the Jade Golem cards and the Cthulhu cards. Like Druid already had a 6 mana taunt, and that was the 6 mana 5/7 taunt that buff Cthulhu with like +3/+3, and it was considered like the strongest Cthulhu Druid card. And the taunt card was that good that it even see play in tournament outside of Cthulhu deck. So that was how strong that taunt was. In this case, for 6 mana, we are only getting a free 6, with taunt, which is worth just over 4 mana. Like 3/6 is worth 4 mana, but because it has taunt, is slightly better. And you summon an additional Jade Golem with it, which once again, if it's the first Jade Golem, 3/6 taunt that summons a 1/1, it's not that great for 6 mana. The one that summons a 2/2, it's still not that great. Once it summons a 3/3, it becomes playable. So yeah, same as before, but I mean you will need a lot of Jade Golem summoning cards if you want to make those decks viable. So in this case, it might see play in those decks. Other than that, probably not too much. Then after that, we have a really cool card that I absolutely adore, and I'll absolutely try and play it, and that is the Jade Idol, which, unless you count some weird counterspell shenanigans, can pretty much allow you to get infinite value. So it's a 1 mana, choose one spell, summon a Jade Golem, or shuffle 3 copies of this card into your deck. So you can basically play this card, shuffle 3 copies of it into your deck, summon more Jade Golems, shuffle 3 more copies, summon even more Jade Golems, shuffle more copies, and basically keep summoning bigger and bigger Jade Golems while never reaching fatigue ever. And that's why this card is like so spectacular. Like in a vacuum, if you consider this card is like absolutely busted, and if Fatigue Druid ever needed like any additional help, then this is pretty much what it needed. But yeah, now if you don't consider it in a vacuum and you consider it in the actual context of constructed, well, you have a one mana card that doesn't do anything when you play it because the first one you'll absolutely want to shuffle three more copies of it into your deck. Then you're gonna have these weird one mana draws that one of them you are going to keep to shuffle even more copies into it, and then the others are going to summon the Jade Golems, which the beginning are not going to be that great. So yeah, you kind of struggle a little bit, but yeah, if Jade Golem, if you really wanted to bring Jade Golems to like a really high level, as we saw in the GIF with the Jade Golem, that it gets from like a 1/1 all the way to a 30/30, then this card will definitely be necessary. So yeah, it's gonna be hard to estimate how good this card will be, but it's really cool. I really love the idea of it, and I'll definitely try to play with it. And hey, it even some synergizes with Fandral, so I guess it's not too bad, right? Moving right on ahead, we have one more card for Druid, and that is more of a another like card for Beast Druid, and that is Vermin Sensei, 5 mana for 5 battle cry, give a friendly beast +2/+2. So, pretty much an average card. I mean, if you don't have a beast, it's like a 5 mana Chillwind Yeti, which is um, not that great, obviously. If you have a beast, then it gets you like a 5 mana 6/7, which is one stat extra than the average for 5 drop, or it's basically the total stats of a Boulder Fist Ogre, but you get it at 5 mana, which is, it's fine, it's valuable, but it's definitely not good enough for constructed play, in my opinion. I mean, we had cars busted to the level of Menagerie Warden in 119 Karazhan, and even that wasn't enough to make Beast Druid like a tier 1 deck. It's a strong deck, and probably this card will help, and it's in also to replace another card that would be shifting out, the 4 mana 4/4 that gave a friendly beast +3 health. So yeah, it's good in that regard, but yeah, it's I don't think it's gonna be good enough to like see constructed play except for the beast 3 deck, and even in that deck, I'm not sure if it's gonna be good enough to bring it to a higher level. Basically, in arena, it's it might be okay because in arena, if you don't have anything to play, you can still play it as a 5 mana 4/5. It's not great, but it's not complete garbage anyway. And if you can get a beast, then it's pretty good in arena. But yeah, it depends on how consistently you can draft and draw beasts, I guess. If you have enough beasts in your deck in a druid arena, then I think you're okay with picking this guy. If not, then I would probably say pass. Moving along, Hunter doesn't have any new cards, neither does Mage, and interesting enough, neither has Paladin. I think these Hunter and Mage still need a few more common cards, I think, but Paladin, I think it has almost all of the cards. Priest has a new card, and that is the Mana Geode, or Jude, or Jodi, or something. I'm not sure how it's that pronounced. You'll correct me afterwards. And finally, Priest has something to do on turn 2. Can you imagine that? A fucking 2-drop. How long have we been waiting for this? A 2 mana, 2/3. Whenever this minion is healed, summon a 2/2 crystal. So, yeah, this is a very good minion, I guess. It's a kind of minion that Priest needed. It's a minion that if it survives and it's not dealt with immediately, it can produce increasingly more value as it makes trades, and you heal it and get more 2/2 crystals that you can assist them in doing more trades. So it's a good card for like sort of like control priest, I guess, and it's also synergizes very well with the 3 mana 3/4 Cabal Talon priest, I think it was, that gives +3 health. This card just synergizes very well with all the cards that buff its health in order to make even more valuable trades and give you, a bigger ability to heal it. It obviously synergizes with power or shield, and in wild it's absolutely broken with the Valiant Chosen. I think it will be absolutely insane if this card survives and it can Valiant Chosen it. It will become such a pain to deal with it. But yeah, it's that's the question. If it survives, in the end, at the end of the day, it's still just a 2 mana 2/3, which can get removed by pretty much every single 2 mana spell from almost all classes, and by buffed 1 drops or by flame imps or by fiery war axe from warrior or by bash or by stronger board clears in the late game. So yeah, that's kind of the issue. You do need to like have it survive for a few turns and have it buffed up in order to obtain value from it, in order to for it to become like actually good and valuable. But if you can't do that, then it's definitely a good card. And hey, as I said, it's finally something for priest to do on turn 2. In arena, it's not going to see as much play since first off it's an epic, and secondly you kind of lose tempo when you use your hero power, so you're gonna be less likely to make valuable trades and heal it and keep it up on the board, and you're also less likely to have the obviously the buff cards, the health buffing cards. But if you can draft the Cabal Talon Priest and the Valence Chosen, most importantly, and have the option to pick this card, then I would probably go for it. It's a very good 2 drop that Priest obviously needed. It will be seen if it's gonna be good enough, but I'm pretty happy that this card, finally exists, I guess. Moving on along ahead, we have Rogue, which obviously is part of the Jade faction, so it also has some good, some interesting new Jade summoning card. First, you have the Jade Swarmer, a 2 mana stealth, 1/1 Death Rattle summon a Jade Golem. So at the beginning, it's basically a stealth possessed villager, which for 2 mana, it's not really worth it. Then it will summon a 2/2, so I guess it will be just almost worth 2 mana, and then afterwards it will be okay. So yeah, once again, another like incremental card for it. Since it has stealth, it's a little bit better than the possessed villager because it is more likely to stick to the board, and you can use some attack buffing cards to make some valuable trades, I guess. But yeah, it runs in the same old issue that I've mentioned with the Jade Golem. So it will be seen if it's gonna be good enough. But I mean, it's an almost okay card. It's an okay card in the context of making a Jade deck. Let's put it that way. If that Jade deck becomes reliable. And I think that sort of covers everything. Same goes for Jade Shuriken, a 2 mana spell, deal 2 damage, combo summon a Jade Golem. So obviously a 2 mana spell that deals 2 damage on its own is not really that great. And you need to obtain a combo in order to summon a Jade Golem. So it's even more restrictive on the summoning part, and that's why it's once again it's not that great. It's a little bit better, you can use it with like a backstab in order to kill like a totem golem. Backstab Jade Shuriken kills a totem golem, summons a Jade Golem, and you won't be put in the forced situation of using an eviscerate with a preparation, just to kill a totem golem. So yeah, it's I guess it's good as a tempo play in that specific regard. But apart from that, okay in Jade decks, not very good in anything else. Then we have a card that is like kind of a wash. I mean, every deck, every class needs its Purify, so we now have the Gadgetzan Ferryman, a 2 mana 2/3 combo, not Battle Cry combo. Return a friendly minion to your hand. So I really don't see why would you play this card over Youthful Brewmaster, which does that as a Battle Cry, and you actually are sure that you're going to have it. With this card you must have something to make a combo in order to get it. I mean, sure, it's a 2-3, not a 3-2, so I guess it's better if you want to make like sort of a control deck, but I don't think you're really going really that deep. And yeah, I guess the only advantages that I have heard of this card is that first off, you can play it on curve without having to return a 1 mana minion into your hand, which was a problem with Youthful Brewmaster. If you played a 1 mana minion and your only 2 drop to be played was a Youthful Brewmaster, then you were put in an awkward situation where you had to return the 1 mana minion in order to play the Youthful Brewmaster. But yeah, with this card you can play it on curve without the combo and it won't have that problem. But yeah, it's are we really going that specifically into it? And yeah, some people say that it's okay in Reno decks because it gives you like another card that you can return cards into your hand without having to like resort to putting duplicates into your deck. But I really think that this card is just like it's not good enough. It might be okay in arena because of the above mentioned idea that you don't have to return the 1 mana minion back to your hand, and it's a 2 mana 2/3, which are solid stats for arena. But yeah, for constructed, I don't think this will see any play whatsoever at all, unless like Reno Rogue becomes like a really insane thing, and even in that case, the main idea of Reno Rogue is not really the main idea of Reno is less about putting it and like getting it back into your hand and then putting it again. When you put Reno, you want to follow it up with a board clear and then like come back into the game. If you don't do that, if you just rely on putting Reno again and again and again and not dealing with the enemy more, then you're basically going to be forced to Reno every turn, and eventually you're gonna run out of Renos, and that's when you're gonna hit the rock bottom. So, yeah, I don't think this card is very good for constructed. Maybe it's okay for arena. Shadow Sensei, new card that I have just seen. 4 mana 4/4 battle cry, give a stealth minion +2/+2. So I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's another conditional buff. I guess we already talked about that. Very sorry about that. So yeah, if you have a stealth minion, I guess it pushes its stats of 4 mana 6/6, which is it's okay, but yeah, it's once again we have seen the problems with those conditional buffs and how they don't really work that well, and that's the main issue with it. Once again, Menagerie Warden. Everyone said that it was such a sick card because it had a Strangletorn Tiger, which was a 5 mana 5/5 stealth that couldn't be removed, and then you can follow it up on curve with Menagerie Warden and get another one in such a sick combo. And even with that sick combo, Beast Druid is just not good enough. It was not like used in any tournament play, and it's not. I think it's just tier 2 on Tempo Storm as Dex, or tier 3. I can't even remember, which is why it's these conditional buffs are not that great. It's a little bit better in Rogue because you can combo it up with Conceal. You can, if you have a minion at the end of the turn, you can Conceal and then play this card and buff it. And I guess it's okay. But yeah, apart from that, in order for this card to see play in constructed, will need to have like Rogue will need to develop some sort of minion based stealth deck, which I don't really see that one coming. And in arena is not going to be that great either because you're going to be very very limited on stealth minions. But there are a few stealth minions that are actually pretty good to be buffed by. The ones that I can think of are Silent Knight. You can play a Silent Knight on turn 3, and you can buff this up with +2/+2 on turn 4 on curve. It becomes a 4/4 with Divine Shield and Stealth. It's pretty solid now that I think of it. And hey, I mean, there's also the Rogue Legendary, I guess, the 3 mana 2/3. Yeah, now that I think of it, since there is that 3 mana 2/3 rogue legendary with stealth that gives you a class card whenever it attacks, and you can buff it on curve with this guy, turning into a 4/5, basically a Yeti. I guess in that case, that legendary will become a little bit more playable. So if you go back to my first episode of Ministries of Gadgetzan, where I said that the legendary is not going to see any constructed play, I'm going to go and retract that a little bit and say that with this card, it might see a little bit more constructed play. But once again, it's like a very specific two card synergy, which are not going to be that likely to have every single time. So it remains to be seen whether it will reach its full potential, basically. Moving along ahead, Shaman had like pretty much all the cards that have been released for Shaman this week. First have Call in the Finisher, 4 mana, summon for 1 on Murlocs. It's okay, I guess. I mean, we had Stand Against Darkness, which was a 5 mana Paladin card that summoned 5 1/1 Silver Hand Recruits. This one is pretty much the same, only it costs 4 mana and summons 4 Murlocs. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit better in Shaman because you have the Any Finis possible card, and that it will reduce the cost of that card because all of these are Murlocs, and you can then buff the Murlocs with it. Basically, you can basically play it on turn 7, play this card, get the 4/1/1 Murlocs, reduce the counter card cost of the Any Finis possible from 7 to 3, and play it over it and buff your Murlocs to with +2/+2 to have them all free freeze. Or you can even wait it until turn 8 and play 2 Call in the Finishers and then play 2 Anythings are possible to get a full board of 7 5/5s. But yeah, I don't think that will be good enough. So it's an okay card in Murloc Shaman that sees almost no play. Maybe it will buff Murloc Shaman a little bit, although it's very debatable if it will. And yeah, apart from that, it's not that great. As for Arena, I mean, it's better to have this card, I guess, than the other busted common cards that Shaman have, like Tunnel Trog or with Spirit Claws or anything like that. I think I'm fine with calling the finisher over those other cards. Maybe I'll be wrong. So you can kind of think of this card as a small nerf to Arena Shamans. You know, maybe a little bit. We'll see. And then moving right on ahead, we have Jade Lightning, a 4 mana spell, deal 4 damage, summon a Jade Golem. Once again, pretty much a below average card. I mean, we have the Fireball, which is the mage spell, which is a 4 mana, deals 6 damage. This one only deals 4 damage, but it summons the Jade Golem, and you can also target it face. So it's okay in the Jade Golem deck. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the main idea that I can say about all the Jade Golem cards. They're okay in a Jade Golem based deck, and pretty much not so interesting in the rest. Also have Jade Chieftain, which is a 7 mana 5/5. Thank God it's not a 5 mana 7/7, although we already have a 4 mana, so what am I talking? I wanted to say it would have been hilarious if it were a 7 mana 4/4, that would have been very hilarious. But yeah, Battle Cry, summon a Jade Golem, give it taunt. So far this is the only card that actually changes certain aspects to the Jade Golem, and giving a Jade Golem taunt is I mean, it summons one. That's the first thing, and it gives it taunt. So by turn 7, you have pretty much spawned at least 2 Jade Golems. You are kind of likely to get like either a 3/3 or in the best case scenario 4/4 with taunt, which is it's okay. It's an okay board tempo swing, I guess. So yeah, it's playable in a Jade Golem Shaman. I think it's probably pretty good for that kind of deck, and yeah, not so much for anything else. Then we also have another weapon for Shaman. Kind of wanted more weapons for Rogue, but hey, who am I? I'm not the designer of Hearthstone. We have Jade Claws, the 2 mana 2/2, summon a Jade Golem, overload 1. So I think this weapon is, it's pretty balanced, Thank God it's not another 1 mana weapon like fucking Spirit Claws. That thing is so fucking busted. So yeah, it's a 2 mana 2/2, which is um it's even below average for a two mana weapon. For 2 mana, you have either you have the fiery war axe, which is a free two, or you have some other weapons which are 2 free with overload for shaman, or a 2 free but on the joust mechanic for paladin. So a 2/2 that also has overload is obviously not that great, but it summons a Jade Golem, and it's an early card that summons a Jade Golem. So I think it's okay, but it won't kill that many things. So and since there's already Spirit Claws, that's where this card will become an issue, because you cannot really run both Spirit Claws and Jade Claws because they will kind of overlap, and you can't really use both of them. So this is where this card will kind of hit like a wall. There is already Spirit Claws, which is very good. So why would you replace it with Jade Claws, even with the summon the Jade Golem, battle cry? I'm not sure if that will be good enough to warrant it. I guess it's okay to play on curve after a tunnel trog. So maybe it will be good in that regard, but I'm not sure if it will be good enough to replace Spirit Claws. Still an okay weapon and a much better and balanced design of a card for Shaman, compared with what else you had so far. Then we have Devolve, which is a very hilarious card. The 2 mana transform all enemy minions into a random one that costs 1 less. So we had like Devolve, which raised all your minions to one that costs 1 more. Then we have Devolve for the opponent minions. Now this card, as hilarious as it is, it's not really that great. It's kind of situational, and even even with it, it's like you don't really deal with the opponent board with it. You will still need to pair it up with a board clear. Like if your opponent has a full board and you devolve it, even if they are the minions that they devolve in are weaker, they're still going to have a full board and they're still going to kill you with it, in a few turns. So it's not that great. It's pretty good if you're playing against like a Murloc OTK Paladin, because you can devolve Murlocs into some other minions that once you kill them, the Murlocs won't be resummoned by everything is awesome. Or uh, I think I messed up the card names over there. I always do. I think everything is awesome is for the shaman one that buffs the Murloc, and anything is possible is the paladin one that summons the Morlocks that die. I'm very sorry about that. You'll get what I mean. But yeah, it's good against that deck. It's also good against like annoying death rattle minions, because you can evolve them into something else, like Cairn, Sylvana, Styrian. So once again, good against Paladin, Death Rattle Paladin. And I guess if the opponent only has like 1 drops, you can devolve them into wisps, and then they are very easy to kill here with a Maelstrom portal. But yeah, it's it's situational, and even in that case, you still need the additional Maelstrom portal to get full value out of it. So I don't think it will see that much play, unless maybe as a one-off in like a sort of Reno style deck. But even in that case, I'm not sure why would you really want to run that. The opponents will have to be more careful on playing free draws, because they can be devolved into Doomsayers. Moving right up ahead, we have another card for Shaman, a 4 mana free 6. New Water Speaker, Battle Cry, restores 6 health, overload 1. So this card is actually a very good card for Control Shaman. It's something that, Control Shaman actually needed. It's a 4 mana free 6, which are obviously like very solid stats for 4 mana. like the water elemental, like Priest of the Feast, like so many others. You are kind of looking for that. It totals the 9 total stat points, but it has more health, so it's more control oriented to make multiple trades. And for the additional one overload, you get 6 health restored, which that's pretty good considering like the paladin card, the paladin spell that's like Holy Touch, which restores 6 health that costs 2 mana. This one, does it for only 1 mana, and it's also strapped to a minion. So, it's usually better when it's strapped to a minion because you can still play that minion even if you don't have, a target for that specific action. You can also target both minions and your face. So I think this is a very good card in Control Shaman. It will probably see a play if that kind of deck will appear. Which with the Jade Golem mechanic, it might be because as I said, Shaman is the only class in the Jade faction that has like good enough combat mechanics in order to afford to lose the early game and then come back in the late game with the increasingly bigger Jade Golems that will, overwhelm the opponent. So that's why I think this card will be pretty good, and I think it's a very solid card in Arena as well. Plus, you have the Overload that synergizes with the cards that increase with Overload, Tunnel Trog and the other ones. So yeah, I think it's a very solid card. For Warrior and Warlock, we don't have anything released yet, unfortunate, but what can you do? And then we have a few more neutral cards. We're gonna go through them relatively fast. Sorry if there is any noise in the background, that's just my washing machine. Right, let's see. First off, we have Fight Promoter, 6 mana for 4. If you control a minion with 6 or more health, draw 2 cards. So, the draw mechanic is pretty good, and that's why this card is seen like it could have a very, solid impact. But it's very conditional, and the minion with 6 health, it's very hard to obtain. Like there are very few minions that are currently played in constructed that have 6 health on turn 4 and 5, and that's why this card is kind of hard to like get the full value out of it, and even those minions, they can get damaged and you don't get the value of it. And even let's say that even if you get it, what do you have? We have a 4/4, which is basically worth like 3.5 mana, let's say, and then for the rest 2.5, you draw 2 cards. So I guess it's better than an Arcane Intellect, but that condition makes it like very very restrictive, to actually get it properly. So yeah, that's why I have kind of doubts about whether this card will see that much play. It's unfortunate. It's probably going to be like many of all the other cards that seem like very cool in aspect, but probably didn't see but in the end didn't see like that much play, like Master of Ceremonies. It's one. Scaled Nightmare, it's another. Hell, even Blood Knight, it's a very cool card, a very strong effect, but it's also very situational on having Divine Shield minions. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's an okay card on paper, but I don't think it will see that much play in either constructed and arena as well. It might be better in arena, in the late game, but the problem is that it's a 6 drop, so you'll want to play, something, and then in the next turn, if that thing remains with over 6 health, play this card. You know, in the best case scenario, I guess it's okay in priest, shaman, warrior, and I think mage, because they have the 4 drops that have like 3/6 or 2/6 stats, so you can play it on turn 10 together with those, and then it's okay. Then you can consider it okay, I guess. Right, then we have Burgle Bully. Burgley Bully. I'm not exactly sure if I reviewed this card in the last episode, so I'm going to, do it over here. I'm very sorry if I'm going to review this card again, but I think this card is very awesome. It has been revealed by Firebat. It's a 5 mana 4/6, so slightly below average for 5 cost, but whenever your opponent casts a spell, add a coin to your hand, and that's a very very strong effect because that can give you a lot of value to come back in come back in tempo, with those additional extra coins. So yeah, it's a very cool card because when you think of it, it's a 5 and a 4/6. You play it. What does the opponent can do? Well, if it's an aggro deck, you can ignore it. You can simply ignore it, go to face, and that's one drawback to it, I guess. You can ignore the card; it's kind of slow, and if you don't have something else to assist you, then it's not going to do that much. However, if they cannot afford to go to face, then they have two options. They can either trade into it, in which case the card, due to its very beefy body, attacks kind of like a sort of a quasi board clear. It will need multiple minions to hit into it in order to die, or to use removal into it, which once again, because of its X health, it will probably need more than one removal. There are a few exceptions. Obviously, there is Fireball, there is Polymorph, although I think you'll be very happy if it uses a Polymorph on this. There is Hex. And even in those cases, they still give you a coin, in which case this card becomes like a 4 mana 4/6, which it's better than a Yeti, I guess. And yeah, this card has a lot of potential. It has potential in Rogue, which Miracle Rogue, which obviously uses a lot of coins, and it goes very well with that. And this card might make another legendary card that in the previous episode I said that it's going to be pretty bad. It might make Gadgetzan Auctioneer. No, not the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. The Auction Master Beardo. That was the card, the legendary card, the 3 mana 3/4 that resets your hero power every time you cast a spell. Well, this card might make that card playable, because it can give you like 1 or 2 coins. And then I already thought about a cool combo in the new Rido Shadowform Priest. You can basically play this card, gain 2 coins from it. Then you can play Raza, the Chain, then make your hero power cost 0. And then on turn, 8 or 10, you can basically play Auction Master Beardo and the Nexus Champion Sarad or Confessor Palatress, and then you can hero power, coin, hero power, coin, hero power, coin. And yeah, it's a pretty good, pretty niche sort of little thing that could happen. I see it's kind of situational, as I said, but I still think it's a pretty good card, and it might see some play in those decks, as I said, Miracle Rogue, and probably in some other decks as well. It's pretty good in those regards. We have 2 more cards. We have the Hosen Healer, which is a 4 mana 2/6, restore a minion to full health. This card is pretty much, Blizzard I think said, that card, that spell that Shaman has, that 0 mana spell that restores a minion to full health and gives it taunt that nobody plays. Well, let's trap it to a minion. That will work. So yeah, it's not that good, In fortunately in constructed it doesn't really work that well. In constructed you're the main idea is of using spells and very powerful but small synergistic minions. This kind of card promotes sort of value trades, and this is why I think this card is very good in arena, but it's probably not going to see any play in constructed. In arena it's very good because you can you can have a minion, you can trade with it, and leave it damaged. You can kill a minion, but it remains damaged, and then you can play this guy and heal your minion back up. You know, and it's slightly better than the shaman spell because even if you don't have a minion to heal, in case of the shaman spell you can't really play it. But in case of this guy, even if you don't have anything to play it on, you can still play it as a 4-drop. It's not that great, but it's I guess it's playable. So I think it's an okay card in arena, probably even a decent card. But in constructed, I don't think it will really see that much play. That's my general opinion of this particular card. And finally, we have Daring Reporter, which is a cool card. I heard that these mechanics have existed in our games and have been requested in Hearthstone, but they haven't been, implemented so far. And this is the first kind of card in this regard. And it's a 4 mana free that whenever your opponent draws a card, gain +1/+1. So it's a kind of like a thing that benefits from your opponent drawing cards. So it will become a 4/4 automatically on your opponent turn because it will draw a card, naturally. And yeah, it's kind of punishing against decks that draw a lot of cards, like Miracle Rogue or Freeze Mage or Tempo Mage or like Handlock. It's pretty good against those cards. You can also use it, in conjunction with like Cold Light Oracle. It's not too terrible. On turn 7, you can play this kind Cold Light Oracle, and it will become like +2/+2, and then another +1/+1 from the opponent draws. So it will become a 4 mana 6/6. Still not a 4 mana 7/7, but I think it's pretty good. Unfortunately, that's the main issue with this card. It's kind of weak on its own, and it's very situational against what is good. So yeah, it's a very cool effect, and I'm very glad that this card exists. And I will be happy to see even more cards in this kind of fashion. But unfortunately, I don't think it's strong enough to see a constructed play unless some very particular niche decks like, I don't know, maybe Mill Rogue or even Druid. It works with Naturalize, and since Fatigue Druid might become a thing, and you have Naturalize in there, then sure, you can even play Daring Reporter. But yeah, apart from those decks, it's not that great. And in arena is just borderline playable. I think it's 4 mana, 4/4. If you don't have anything else, I think you can play it. But I think I would pick a Chillwind Yeti over this card almost 9 times out of 10. So yeah, this has been pretty much it with this batch of Mean Streets of Gadgetzan release. I am very excited and very eager to see how the expansion will roll out, and I'm very excited to try the Jade Golem mechanics. Apart from that, things seem to be running around pretty smoothly. We have a lot of cards, and some of the previous cards that I've said that will be pretty bad might be a little bit more playable with these new cards that have been released. So hope you guys enjoyed watching. Hope you guys have a fair idea about what is going to happen. I think there's going to be like one more batch of cards, and then we're probably going to have the expansion in, I think, in 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks at most. We're going to have the expansion. So can't wait for that. Can't wait for you guys to like and share the video, and I'll see you next time. What I'm going to make. Bye bye.